And we are live. Today's guest is the inventor, CEO, COO, marketing genius, and the mad scientist behind the bait, Fish Gum. Tony Faggioni, welcome to the podcast.
I'm glad to be here. I have to correct you, though. I'm not the CEO. My wife is.
Okay.
So every wife has got to be the CEO of any company you have. You'll be successful that way.
That's smart. Happy wife, happy life.
That's exactly right, man.
So Fish Gum is flying off the shelves at our local tackle shops, anywhere from, I think you're in Pensacola, right?
Pensacola?
Gulf Breeze Bait and Tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And then what other stores are you in right now?
So if we start in Alabama coast, we've got Hooked Up Bait and Tackle in Gulf Shores. We've got Lost Bay. I believe that's in Orange Beach. We've got Grays and Goldfish, Redfish, and Perdido. Gulf Breeze Bait and Tackle, Broxton's Bait and Tackle, and Emerald Coast Bait and Tackle in Fort Walton Beach.
Okay, wow. You've expanded, I think, even since last time we talked.
Yeah, and I'm getting phone calls every day to stock stores, and right now I'm telling people no because I've got to be faithful to at least getting stock into the ones that I have once a week, and then also at least having online sales once a week. It's really amazing how the demand has been, and my wife and I are very much humbled by this experience.
It's got to feel good with all the time you've invested into the product to see it flying off the shelves.
It does feel good, man. This was a 3-year journey with a lot of forks in the road, a lot of times when the bait absolutely, stunk bad and wouldn't really do anything, and just to see at the end of all this that it is flying off the shelf, and with that happening, it is definitely satisfying.
Okay, so today you have a successful product, but obviously it took quite a journey to get to that point.
Sure.
Let's rewind and first talk about you as an individual to get some context on your story. So give us a condensed history of Tony Faggioni.
Okay, sure, man. So we lived all over the country. My father worked for the VA hospital. So we were living anywhere from Birmingham, Alabama, where I was born, Topeka, Kansas, Aurora, Colorado, Manchester, New Hampshire, and then really I would call home Gulf Breeze, Florida, in this area. So we would move back here. My family is a broken home. Both my parents are deceased now. So my outlet during the time growing up was fishing. In high school I really got involved with surf fishing. I was president of the fishing club at Gulf Breeze High School, and that was just a great experience. And just that's where I would go to kind of relax. I don't nearly do what I do now, surf fishing. Back then it was really simple. It was J hooks tied on the monofilament that were on the main line, and the pyramid weight, and we just use sand fleas and shrimp. And so now, as you know me, I do some crazy things on my channel, and I'm testing theories. And so went to school here at Gulf Breeze High School. I live in Navarre now. I played football at Gulf Breeze High School, and that would land me at the University of North Alabama. I was a punter for the college team there. We would go on to win a national championship my freshman year, and then at the end of my career there, we would end up going to play in the All-Star game up in Fargo, North Dakota. So I had a collegiate athlete resume. I majored in history, which you would think if I'm doing bait creation, I'd be some kind of scientist or a biologist. Met my wife at the University of North Alabama through a Christian organization called Campus Outreach. We would both come to faith in Christ through that ministry. We wanted to go on staff with that ministry, but we were in a lot of debt. I made a lot of foolish mistakes in high school and college. In college especially, just getting credit cards, and they would throw anything at you. Hey, here's $500. Well, I'm going to Club La Vila for the weekend with $500. I'm leaving North Alabama. So I made a lot of foolish mistakes. And so through that ministry, we wanted to go on staff with that ministry, but because we were in so much debt and we got pregnant with our first kid, about 6 months after we got married, I just had to say no to the ministry. So we got about 40% fully support raised and 2 years invested, and having to walk away from something I really felt called to do. That stunk. But really that experience with Campus Outreach and going into offices and churches like this, or going into businesses, that really refined me as a salesman. And so I would go on to start a career in pharmaceutical sales, which is what I do now. Started that career in Florence, Alabama, where I played college football. we were up there for the largest part of my life in one place, which was about 15 years. And I was a pharmaceutical rep with Wyeth, and then I came to work with Novo Nordisk in diabetes and metabolism. And then I left Novo Nordisk to take a job down here in the Panhandle, and that's how I got down here, really with a goal in mind to get around family. My mom had plans to move back. She was living in Blue Ridge, Georgia. So we moved down, started my career with Lilly Pharmaceuticals, calling on endocrinologists. At about 2 years into that, I left Lilly and came back to Novo Nordisk, where I work now. And my mom passed away about a year and a half moving back down here. So the plan of getting around family, it kind of ended. So my wife and I are the only ones here. I have an uncle who lives in Pensacola, avid fisherman, avid hunter. Look forward to growing my relationship with him and spending time with my Uncle Ronnie. But when we moved back shortly, I think my history in pharmaceutical sales, I want to figure out why things work. And I take that mentality from diabetes and metabolism, a lot of scent and a lot of fish metabolism. There's some similarities between metabolism. We all have metabolisms, right? And so just trying to take that knowledge and to figure out how to create another competitor in that cut bait market. You've got fish bites, and you've got, I think it's magic bait something. I don't know. It's not as good. But, I started a journey about 3 years ago. I was fishing one day. I was using fish bites. I was using sand fleas. I was using shrimp. I was using a lot of different bait, and I'm just like, I think I may have had clam fish bites. So I had like 2 different fish bites. I'm like, man, I just want to be able to bring one bait with me to the beach. Now, I don't recommend bringing one bait to the beach, but my theory was at that moment, can I put all the scent in one bait? And not only can it be synthetic scent, but also real bait extract, because I like fishing with clams. I like fishing with sand fleas. I like fishing with real shrimp. Let's extract that and put that into one bait. And so after about, 600 attempts, we finally landed on something. And that's what's on the market today, is a final product that is not, it's not perfect, but it's a start, and it had to at least catch fish. And it does. You've seen that firsthand.
Absolutely, yes. I've limited it out multiple times, quickly, just with a little piece of fish gum on the hook.
That's right.
And that always amazes me every time, because you wouldn't think it goes against, at least to me, the logic of in a fish brain. They're looking for something that looks natural.
Exactly.
But again, the scent.
Exactly
the
right.
scent is what just explain that to those listening as well. The double-sided part of the bait, where there's 2 different types of quick release, and can you explain that?
So, I wanted something that when it would hit the water, it would have a powder coating on one side and a less dense material on that side as well. So when it hits the water, it doesn't take that much time to start releasing scent. Typically, it's within seconds. I'm not going to say immediate. I think I do say immediate release on my packaging. But if a couple seconds, that's kind of immediate to me. So that's why I put that on the packaging. And then it's got a longer release on the other side. So, that sounds like medicine, right? We have, immediate release, Tylenol on one side, and then the sustained release on the other. So that's kind of using my background in pharmaceuticals to do that. And it works that way. And that's basically it in a nutshell. I want to be as cryptic as I can to some of it, so I'm trying to weed through my brain and think through before I speak. But that's kind of the overall simplicity: quick release, sustained release in that fish bite or fish gum bait.
So how did you come up with the name Fish Gum? It's a unique name, but it is also descriptive of what it is. So how did, in your brain, you came and you landed on Fish Gum?
So, oddly enough, I never... when I went on this journey, I wanted my channel to be called Fish Gum, and I don't necessarily. I think it was in the back of my mind to create this bait, but I had a line of bait and tackle rigs. I had some surf tackle and some double drop rigs that I was selling under the name Fish Gum on eBay, and I think, it was just something easy to remember, but also had that chance down the road, if it panned out, to create fish gum. And I would say the fish gum name really is synonymous to the actual bait. I'm not Fish Gum. I'm Tony, and Fish Gum is the bait. It's the name of the channel.
I still call you Fish
I
Gum.
know.
though.
So it is Fish Gum, the channel, and I'm going to be called Fish Gum. Hey, there's the Fish Gum guy. That's fine. I'm good with that. But the bait really is Fish Gum.
The brand is
Yes.
Fish Gum, if you will.
The-
Now, you had, at least for a while, I think, so the brand was Fish Gum.
Yep.
But the bait was Pomp Chews. Is that still
Yeah,
accurate?
it was, and I bailed on the name Pomp Shoes because some people would call it, like in comments on YouTube, give me some of that Pomp Shoes, like tennis shoes.
Oh.
And so so you can really hear different things when you say Pomp Shoes. You don't know what is it? Is it CHOOSE? And I feel like having two names would just confuse people. And so, and to limit it just to pompano, I know I want the pompano. It's on my hat, which we're redoing that now. But I want the pompano to be synonymous with the brand too. But I don't want that to be the only thing that people can catch with it, because it's not. I mean, there have been people who took it deep sea fishing, caught a cobia, caught red snapper, mingo snapper, triggerfish, redfish, whiting, flounder, Jack Crevalle, and
a shark recently.
And so it really does target multiple species. But I think the main people pompano fish, right? You pompano fish, I pompano fish, and so it really was targeted specifically at pompano specific bait when it all happened. But then we started noticing this is not just catching pompanos. Let's drop the name Pomp Shoes and just call this Fish Gum.
Do you still have the product Pomp Paste as well, or do you?
So that's
kinda
in the
putting that on hold?
that's still on hold.
Okay.
I had two irons in the fire. Pomp Paste really is a competitor to Procure Gel. They're a huge brand. I don't necessarily know there's anything else out there. They're weighted more on extracts and not synthetics. So I am a combination of both, and so I can make a Procure Gel. I don't want to just yet. All my money right now that I've invested in trying to pump out where the demand is, and just to think about another process to think through and an infrastructure to solve. I want to focus just on Fish Gum and make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to expand to just more than just 6 bait and tackle stores, and to meet the demand online too. We probably put about 120 packs on there on Friday. They were gone by 3, so we put them on there at 1. They were gone by 3.
Wow.
So I just can't. We can't keep up.
That's amazing.
And people are willing to wait. And one thing too, going back to the story of Fish Gum, you asked me earlier. This is important to that story. I wanted to bring a bait to the beach that if I didn't have time, or the sand fleas weren't there, or if the ghost shrimp weren't out there, or I was just lazy and didn't want to buy anything, just go straight to the bait store with just something in my hand. I knew that if I didn't have sand fleas or couldn't get them, I've got a bait that has sand fleas in it, right? Or if I didn't want to buy shrimp that day, I've got a bait that has shrimp in it. So whatever I put in combination with the sand flea, I'm also presenting clams or sand fleas or shrimp out there. So that's kind of the story, because you feel kind of like sometimes when you're fishing and you're being lazy, I always say bring 3 baits out, but sometimes I don't, that you're thinking, if I only had sand fleas, I'd be catching fish right now, right?
Yes.
You think that, right? Or if
Absolutely.
I only brought ghost shrimp today, I'd be catching fish right now. But now it's like, I don't care if I have those baits, because I have Fish Gum, and I'm going to pair that with shrimp today, and I'm presenting at least some of this scent out there. But now the story is that I'm sure people are thinking, if I only had Fish Gum, I'd catch fish today. So, which people are probably thinking. And so, there is such a psychological side to fishing, and we're our worst enemy out there, because we're going through scenarios. If I went to a different spot, but that bait scenario is what I play, and I kind of wanted to curb that for me, that if I did just bring Fish Gum, I'd be okay fishing.
Absolutely.
So,
And I think that's a good argument too, even for the customer. I mean, if you've ever bought shrimp from a tackle shop,
right.
or if you had to go buy clams from a grocery store or
That's
something
right.
like that, it adds up. And honestly, it's more than if you were just to buy some Fish Gum,
That's
which
right.
has all of it in it.
That's exactly right.
It's, especially if you're on a budget, it's inexpensive to buy a bunch, and it lasts a long time. About how long does it last?
So, the shelf life, I say, is 9 months to a year. I have left Fish Gum in my garage on a hook for 3 straight months, and it has looked like it could be fished again. I've done experiments in my car, and for 5 straight days with fish gum on a hot black dashboard, and I rolled it up like it was nothing.
Wow.
And so, to use a Tony Stark analogy here, he's got nanotech, right, that makes his suits. I have nano hydrants that I call them that keep that thing wanting moisture instead of giving it off. And so that's kind of, I made 3 key mistakes when developing fish gum, and that was one of them. It was a mistake in the right direction. Another one was I spilled some stuff and some things happened, and then boom, whoa, this is where we need to go. So that's another mistake. And then a third mistake is finding a scent that I know that the competitors don't use that is integral into the survival of a fish in terms of escaping predators, and then second for fish egg production, that they are seeking this scent out in order to have robust roe. Now that is not scientifically proven. Okay, that is a theory of mine, and so that's kind of one of the things that's a huge difference between fish gum and fish bites is this was not made in a lab, and that is probably a no-no for someone like me because I'm a pharmaceutical rep. I depend on large clinical studies and evidence-based medicine to determine if this is legit, right? So this was done in the field, and I would probably say you need about 10,000 people to get product in their hands to determine whether this thing is going to be a hit. I probably dealt with about 100 people, about 10 that were avid fish gum testers. One is Bill Cox in Orange Beach. Another one is Tom over here in Navarre. Those guys have helped me tremendously, but it was only 2 people, right? They fish a lot. They fished my bait the most, and we really didn't know what we had because we didn't have the clinical-based studies. We didn't have a lab showing us where to go. And so when you have that, I was extremely scared putting this on the market. A lot of trepidation because I know what I need to do my job as a pharmaceutical rep, and presenting a bait that didn't have that laboratory testing, I didn't know what to expect. And so thankfully, my expectations are blown away by what this bait is doing for people.
I'm blown away as well as a user of the product. And honestly, when I first met you, I also was naturally skeptical as well because I've used fish bites before, and they were okay. You had made a video before about how they can dry out, and I've experienced that a lot. But I started to use your product. You gave me some. I used it. I started buying it, and I was just shocked how well it would work. And what I usually do when I get to the beach, because I'm so impatient, I have to get a bait in the water right away.
Yeah, you can't rake sand fleas until you have something in the water.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So I have fish gum. I'm cutting it up into the little pieces, like you say, put it on the hook, and I'm casting out right away because I have to get bait in the water, scent in the water as soon as possible. And then I go rake for sand fleas or go look for ghost shrimp or whatever. Right. So that's what I would do. I would just put the bait in the water, the fish gum in the water, and I didn't even have to go find sand fleas because they were hitting so fast I couldn't keep the lines in the water. Yeah. So that, to me, was just a real indication, and it woke me up and said, okay, this is a real bait that has proven itself already to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So what are your dream for fish gum? Where do you want to go with fish gum?
I'm a big dreamer, and I want to take a second to just thank my wife because we are totally different people. And God has given us each other because we knew that, in this endeavor of fish gum, He knew it was going to come this way, that I would never be the best I could be without her. And so I am a big dreamer, and she enables me to dream, but she also enables me to stay real. She's a realist. So when you have a dreamer and a realist, you point in the right direction. So I'm glad God gave me my wife, Natalie, in every way possible. But where I'm going, if I'm the big dreamer and she's not here, so she would probably say, you're thinking too big. But I would say in 3 years, dominate that market. In 3 years, dominate that market in this area for sure, the Gulf Coast, and then expand to other regions where they're using synthetic cut bait, which would be the North Carolinas. They're huge fish bites users there. And so I want to expand. I can't right now. And so eventually we will. And that's going to happen soon because we got school coming up within 3 months, and then my kids are going to be back in school. And as you know, Eli, my 2 younger sons, Ethan and Gray, are the ones who package. But when they're back in school, I have a full-time job. I can't make this bait, so I'm going to have to hire employees. So in a short term, I think in about 3 months to 6 months, we will have a small facility somewhere, and we won't be doing this out of my house anymore. I have invested in some infrastructure to produce fish gum at a level where Eli can get it out, increase his output 6 times by 6 times, which is incredible. So we'll go from making probably 300 packs when he works to times 6, so 1,800 packs.
Wow.
And that would be huge. We would be able to stock demand. We'd be able to expand. And so that's where we're headed on the short term. And I do think there's other lines in the future, but I do think that this bait is headed to dominate that market in 3 years.
Excellent. So for people like me who are a little skeptical before they try something and really put it through the ringers, what did you do as the creator of this fish gum bait to put it through the ringers? I mean, you said it took 3 years. What kind of tests did you put it through?
So it first started at a really infancy level as doing some underwater photography and camera work with my GoPro, and it's on YouTube, with just little pinfish and baitfish that were out there, and see how they would react to both. First, it was just fish gum alone, just to see if they'd even try to eat it or they would snub their nose towards it. And so the ringer is seeing how fish literally react in their environment. Other things we would do is just literally fish with it, right? We'd give it. I mean, I gave so many giveaways. I probably gave away out 500 giveaways on my YouTube channel, which I'm going to put towards an expense now. So to get it in the hands of other people who would say, "Dude, your bait sucks." That was over a year ago when we would start doing these giveaways. And so continually using that avenue, and I don't know if this is a case study for people who are going to invent in the future or create other things for fishing, that, man, the power of using YouTube to put this through the ringer, right? The power of getting addresses and spending $3 to ship them some free bait to try, and because people wanted to. That's the crazy thing is you build this audience. And you bring around people on your journey with you, because I had nothing a year and a half ago. Because of YouTube and because of subscribers, that we have something now, they put it through the ringer, right? I could not do it alone. Again, if I did a one-person clinical trial and put a bait out, that would be the worst thing that we could possibly do for people buying this product. It was an army of subscribers and friends and people who would want to test that. They put it through the ringer. And it's still going through the ringer right now. You got people who are investing in it by paying $6.99 for it, and I'm getting feedback, right? And so it's putting through the ringer now. So where fish gum is not perfect, and here's where you have to remember, it's easy if you're not a Fish Bites user to use fish gum because you have no baseline. If you're a Fish Bites user, you're going to compare it to Fish Bites. So I'm going to say to anybody who's listening who's a Fish Bites user, forget everything you know about Fish Bites, and start fish gum by thinking there is Fish Bites, and that's their niche. That's the way they develop their product. And there's fish gum. Here's the way he develops his product. The main emphasis of my product is to get the maximum amount of scent in the water quicker, which means you will go through my bait faster. I give you twice the bait per pack because I know it's not going to last as long in terms of it being in the water. But I'm getting feedback that you need to make it last longer. So we will continue to develop this product, but I'm not going to produce a product that just lasts longer by sacrificing the scent it puts in the water, because that defeats the purpose. My purpose for a pompano who's got the choice between a ghost shrimp and fish gum is to choose the fish gum over the ghost shrimp. Okay, and I've did a video where that has happened. That won't happen every time because fish are finicky, but to have that choice presented and they choose fish gum, that's the standard I'm at, is to pick it over natural bait, which is incredibly difficult to find that. So the discovery is we've got that concentration of scent right now that I want. Now I've got to do some things with that concentration of scent and the fillers that keep it on the mesh to make it last just a little bit longer. that's where I'm at. So it's still going through the ringer right now.
Awesome. And that's how a good product should be. You're constantly developing and improving.
That's exactly right.
As time goes on, more people are getting, as it gets out to the market, more people are trying it and giving you feedback. So you get a lot of positive feedback recently. What are some negative things that people have said about fish gum? I think this is important.
Yeah. The number one negative thing about fish gum is it doesn't last as long as fish bites. And so, there was one time where I got cute and I made my son made 300 packs of fish gum. We tried a different mesh and I sold it. Well, I didn't fish with it first. Right? That is the stupidest thing ever to do, right? You don't ever make a change in a product without testing it. But I was so impressed with the way it looked that I fished with it 2 days after I had stocked Gulf Breeze Bait and Tackle and Go Fish Redfish, and I'd realized that after a minute, it was gone.
Oof.
So what did I do? I immediately called both tackle stores and I said, pull it from your shelves right now. I think Gulf Breeze Bait and Tackle probably sold 20 of the 40 they had. Go Fish Redfish maybe sold 7. And he said, well, I'm just going to mark it for $3 and tell people. I was like, dude, that's fine. Do it. So fortunately, I did not ship out 140 to people living across the country because that would have been a nightmare. That would have cost me a lot. So if you had tried fish gum and you realized it lasts after a minute, then I'm sorry, you got the bad pack. Contact me at fishgum@yahoo.com and I'll help you out there. But it's still not going to last as long as fish bites. And so fish gum has their line that doesn't last as long. It doesn't have the mesh in it. Then they have their line that has the mesh in it. I get that. I want one line with the mesh that lasts exactly how long I want it to last. But I will improve it. Okay, I'm not sold on not trying to make it last even longer. In fact, I was having a conversation with my son today in the car. And I said, I think this is what I want you to do to make this batch last longer. And we're gonna try it, right? We're gonna see what happens. So the application of fish gum is very different from the application of fish bites. If you are going to use fish gum just to catch pinfish for bait, and you want to use the same piece of fish gum over and over, you may get 2 hookups. That's it. If you're wanting to catch pinfish for bait and you want to use fish bites, you may get 20 hookups. Okay, so that's the difference. But if you're going surf fishing and you want the best chance of catching a pompano, and if it flies off the hook, but you caught a 2.5 pound pompano, who cares?
Right.
You caught the pompano,
exactly.
Right? So I would say, in terming the feedback is, it doesn't last long as fish bites. I can't keep it on the hook. If you're trying to keep it on the hook longer than 10 minutes, it's not going to happen. So there are ways to keep it on the hook longer. I suggest rolling a piece up where you pierce the mesh 3 times. Then you'll probably get 12 to 15 minutes out of it. If you're just hooking it once in a little square, you're probably going to get 5 to 10 minutes out of it. So the key is piercing it twice. So that's the way I feel about it. But at the same time, I don't want to ignore my customers. Like if the standard for them, for me, and fish gum is to make it last longer, we're going to work at that.
Absolutely.
So
That's
I'm still
awesome.
listening to you.
So along those lines, as an entrepreneur, you obviously you enjoy the positive feedback. You get a lot of positive and negative feedback based
Sure.
on where you're at with the development of the product. I've seen on your social media recently more positive than anything negative,
Exactly
which is
right.
awesome.
Exactly right.
As an entrepreneur developing a product, what keeps you up at night thinking about your product, the customer?
So what doesn't keep me up is making money. Like that doesn't keep me up at night. Like that's the last thing. And I know that people say that out of cliche. Oh, he's being a kind guy. He's saying it's not about the money. I want to go ahead and say this right now. 100%. It is not about the gold mine for me. Making money, losing money. I spent $6,000 on ingredients. I haven't even profited that into my bank right now with fish gum. So I have spent more money than I have made money. But I've spent more money knowing because this is a product that's viable, right? I know that the return on $6,000 is going to probably equal blah blah blah. I know it. But what keeps me up at night is the experience the fisherman is having. I take it so personally. Like I had a bait store that is my number one bait store, Josh, over at Emerald Coast Bait and Tackle. And he said to me, man, can you just make this last longer? And that cuts to my heart, because that signals to me, man, this is a bad experience. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, and he was one of the guys fishing with pinfish for it. I was like, dude, you're not going to use fish gum for pinfish. just move on. But he still said, I want you to make it last longer, because if I can take this, because he's also a guide, a fish captain, and goes out offshore. Because if I can take this stuff offshore, and I ain't got to worry about, dealing with fish that pick off my bait, then I can catch some red snapper and mingo, and we'll have a great time. So that's where I want to go with keeping it, make it last longer. But what keeps me up, Phil, is the experience the person's having. I don't think, and this is a call right now to people who have used fish gum. I'm a nice guy, right? You guys know I'm a Christian. You may like me as a YouTuber, but please tell me the negative stuff about fish gum. I need to hear more negative advice, or more negative experiences. It keeps me up, but it makes me want to do even better.
Absolutely.
It makes me want to have a better experience for you. But I like you said, I haven't seen much on social media. I haven't been blasted yet. I mean, I have been blasted by people who really love fish bites,
right,
and have tore me a new one, like I stole their, recipe, like I took their, I'm just a thief. No, listen, I don't know anybody who works at Fish Bites, and this is what makes it even more incredible. Is that we've come up with this, and God has led me on that journey, helping me to discover things and come up with this product. If there's anyone to blame, it's God. Let's blame him for creating this product. Let's turn to him. Let's give him the credit. I'm just a vessel. The secret ingredient, you haven't asked me what it is, but I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. The secret ingredient of fish gum is God. The secret ingredient is the gifts that God has given you. Our role upon this earth is to bring glory to God through our giftings. If you want to be successful, if you want to have a successful product, if you want to be a successful person in life, the only thing you have to do is exploit the gifts that God has given you. And if you do that, you will see the results. Yeah, it may not be in the money portion, but it will be in satisfaction and joy for your life, because you're living your life the way God has gifted you to do. And that's what our call is to do. So the secret ingredient is to exploit the gifts God has given you.
100%.
Yeah.
And you're leaving a legacy for your sons.
Absolutely.
They're invested and involved on a daily basis in the manufacturing of this product. And hopefully this will be a legacy company, if you will.
Yeah.
That will continue on.
That was a dream of mine before having children, is to have something for my kids to work alongside. But I have told them, like, you don't have to do this. Like, you don't have to take on fish gum if it becomes something. I mean, God could take it away tomorrow, and I would be. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Christian. I should. I have struggles. I have sins in my life, but I am content with where God has me. If He takes it away, fine. If He keeps it going and it grows, then I want my boys to enjoy that. I would love for them to say, I work for Fish Gum. It's my company. We're going to take it further than my dad has taken it. And that's a goal. It is. And it is a legacy that I'm leaving for them.
That's
awesome.
Thank
God for that.
I love that story. Well, Tony, thanks for coming on the podcast today, sharing your story. Before you go, tell us where we can find you, your website, and social media.
So you can find me on Instagram at Fishgum Surf Fishing. You can find me at my website, which is fishgum.com. You can find me on YouTube, just Fishgum. And that's about all my avenues, I believe. I have Facebook too, Fishgum, Facebook, Fishgum Surf Fishing on Facebook. And I'm terrible at social media. I don't have the time to invest in everything. I do the best that I can. And again, you can find me at the tackle stores that I mentioned along the Gulf Coast. And you can buy from me online. There's shipping involved. One thing that I want to say, Phil, before I leave, this is a huge thing for me as we're talking about where you can find me as a social media, but where you can find my product. It is so important to me to use Fish Gum as a way to drive people back into local bait stores. And we're selling out of Fish Gum in days. I had Red over at Go Fish Redfish say he has had the best month in history of his company because, of course, people want to fish again. But he said that Salty's Pompano Rigs and Fish Gum are driving people into his store, asking them by name, but they're buying other things. That is exactly what I want to do. That is my model for business. You will never see, as long as I have Fish Gum sold at Walmart, I will never stock a Walmart store. I will never stock a Cabela's. I will never stock a Bass Pro Shops, because I don't want undercutting the prices of my product to keep people away from these local bait stores. The COVID-19 crisis has taught us one thing, that people need to be supported at a local level.
100%.
The vision of Fish Gum is to drive people in the local bait stores. If there are local bait stores out there, that's my promise to you. And I can't take you on right now. Maybe in a couple of weeks I can expand. But that's a vision of the future of Fish Gum and expectations. This will be a local bait store driven product and my website. That's it.
Fantastic business model. Love, 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 love people who create products that support small local businesses.
Amen. That's
and
what
we
it's
need that
about.
around here.
That's what it's about.
Well, I definitely need to get you back on the podcast because we have a lot more to talk about. Just a couple things I've listed here. You helped start the Spring King Pompano tournament.
That's exactly right.
You talk a ton about a variety of things you're testing. Pombrella rig, Frank's fly. You get a bunch of underwater footage. You experiment with colored hooks, weights, and floats. You use old school reels, the Penn Greenies. Tony, we have a lot more to talk about. This is going to have to be another podcast episode, but I'm excited to get you back on in the near future.
Awesome.
And you also mentioned Salty's Pompano Rigs. I got to get him on the podcast as well, because I feel like Salty's Pompano Rigs with Fish Gum combined has been my secret, if you will.
Magic.
Even, known secret.
It's magical.
It's magic. So anyway, thanks for coming on the podcast today. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, brother.
Tony.
I appreciate it, Phil. It's been an honor and privilege.
Yes,
God
sir.
bless you, brother.
All right.
Bye.